Good day, my name is Clarita and I'm with CME Accounting LLC. We love working with small business owners, especially those who are relatively new in business. And we also work with those who haven't started the business, but they're thinking about it and they want to have systems in place as they work towards getting that business off the ground. And we also have people who've been in business for instance, 2 years, and now they recognize that they really need a system. We're happy to work with those business owners. Today, we're going to talk about capturing business expense. So in my previous video, we touched on it a little bit, but I wanted to get into some more details. The goal is to make sure that your business captures all the expenses and that nothing gets missed, and you're ready for year-end cleanup so that it doesn't feel overwhelming. By so doing, we're not trying to be perfect. And I know that feeling. I've tried and I've learned over the years it doesn't work. So we're not aiming for perfection. We're aiming for consistency. We want a system that we can keep going and that won't feel like a burden. And we want clarity as well. We want to be able to look and see our numbers without having to do a lot of heavy lifting. So we're going to walk through a simple system to help you stay organized, even without an accounting software like QuickBooks. As an accountant, I always recommend QuickBooks, especially. But I understand that not everybody is able to have QuickBooks right now, and not everybody needs it right now. So we want to be able to help those who not necessarily there yet. Okay, so I would say the first step is to start with the right foundation. Even though it's one bank account that you use, let that be the business bank account. So every transaction goes through that account, whether it's cash transactions online, and or whenever you need to swipe that card whenever it's a business related expense. And also credit cards, it's important to build business credit, so don't shy away from using the business credit card. Of course, we're going to use it responsibly and for business expenses. I would say it's important to use those cards or that account. If talking about cash, use that account even for the smallest of things. So if you have to buy a stamp for your business, use the card. So that way you're not trying to remember what was that expense, how much it cost, or all of that. You know it exists because you use the card for that. And that sounds small, but those little steps make a big difference. And it helps you clearly separate your business account from your personal activity. And the next step I would say is, again, we're talking about people who don't yet have an accounting software. You want to use a spreadsheet, at least minimum, you want to use a spreadsheet. And one of the ways to make that work for you is to download. And if you need help, of course, that's I can walk you through that separately. But you download a file from your bank that shows you your list of your transactions, and that is the base, the foundation for your spreadsheet. And what that does is it's already in the format that your bank provides it. So every month, every week, whatever cadence you decide to use, when you download that information, you can copy and paste. So you will have that very first one that you downloaded. It's going to be your base. And then every time you're ready to update, you're going to download those specific transactions. You copy it from here and then you paste it into your foundation spreadsheet. And that is the way you keep track in a spreadsheet. You can have a very simple spreadsheet. For instance, let's think of Chase. Chase has the columns: details, posting date, description, amount, type of transaction, balance, whether it was a check or a slip number. That's the base for the spreadsheet. Now you're going to add different columns. So now we're going to add your category column. That tells you what kind of expense it is, whether it was a meal, software, office supply, travel. Then you're going to add another column called the payment column. That tells how you paid for that activity. And then you're going to have a notes column. That's very important because you can just put little notes here to just remind you, especially for those who have business meals. It's good to be able to put that in there. I met with so and so, and this was the business reason. So that means there's less work you're having to do memory wise. It's already there and you have it as part of your record. And for those who are savvy enough with spreadsheets, that category column that we talked about, it allows you to filter transactions and you can tell where money is going. It can help you support better decision making and it can help you prepare information for your tax preparer. For instance, if you want to know how much you spent on meals between January and February of 2026, you could use those filter columns to actually get that information. And that is very powerful. The spreadsheet in itself is very powerful. The important thing is being able to set it up properly and maybe just learn how to read the information, and you will find that you'll get a lot of data from there. The third step I would say is pick a realistic rhythm. So I would recommend reviewing transaction once a week or twice a month. Some people say set a date on your calendar. That's your date with yourself. There's a wonderful coach that I know. I think that's where I heard it. And she said you basically sit down and you do that work. Now for me, I will say it does not always work out. As much as I like being organized, life gets difficult. So I totally get that. But it is a very good habit to develop. Take it slowly, but something to work towards to be able to do that. And when you do that, you get visibility during the month, not just at year end. So you can use those filters and you can see what's happening in the business. Step 4, let's look at subscriptions and recurring expenses. If you're somebody who's been using one bank account for both personal payments and business payments, now things need to change because now you have a business specific account and you have your personal. So some of the things you need to do is to update your credit card. For instance, if you're using tools like Canva or Zoom, Uber, software subscriptions, but that used to be on your personal card. As you log into those accounts, one at a time, you don't have to sit down and do it all at once. You can go ahead and update those cards so that you slowly transitioning into that new system. So do it as you log into these accounts. There's no need to do it all at once. Don't allow that overwhelm. And the next thing we want to look at, step 5, is keeping receipts, keeping that process simple. So I would suggest that you store your receipts in one central location. If you have Google Drive, or you have a folder on your computer, or even a folder, an envelope that you have for those receipts that you receive in paper form, have that, put everything in there together. It's easier to now go in, sort that by date than to having to go look for those receipts. Now, I'm not judging because even as an accountant, I don't always do this. It's always easier to tell people than to do it yourself. I try my best, but I don't always do it. And I do recognize how difficult it is when I don't have it. And also, even working with clients. For instance, I had a client, this client had all the receipts, but the receipts were all in one container. And that's good. I saw the good thing there because at least the receipts were there. So the next step was for us to go through that, separate it by year, then separate it by month, and do that until we were able to build a picture. So from those receipts, we're able to now take the information, put it in a spreadsheet, and eventually in QuickBooks. And we were able to see a bigger picture. So the story was there, but it was all in one big container all together. And we could not figure it out. But once we were able to take that and put it into a system, even a spreadsheet system, we were able to tell the story from that and to put the client on the path of now having a lot more visibility and a system that they can follow. When it comes to how long to keep your receipts, I always advise clients to check with their tax professional because that changes as well. You want to make sure that you have the most up-to-date information. Now, for those of us who have a lot of meals, business meals, I think it's important to recognize that all receipts need to be kept when it comes to meals. It's one of those things where it's very important to keep the evidence. So you took a client out to lunch, keep that receipt. Even though the client paid for their lunch and you paid for yours, keep the receipt. Even at the back of the receipt, write who you met with and the business reason, so that you have that information when and if it comes up. We want to also include that in our notes. So once you're updating your spreadsheet, you have that information, you put it in your notes section. The next thing I forgot to mention was, for those who get paper receipts, even though you keep it in an envelope somewhere safe, I would recommend taking a photo, or if you have a scanner, scan that in and also include that central location where you keep all of the receipts. It makes life a lot easier. Because let's say you bring in someone like me to help you out eventually, having all those things in place makes a big difference. Not just in terms of how easy or difficult it is for me, but how much you pay. Because if I'm coming in where you don't have a system at all, it's going to be more expensive than if you have a system in place that I can follow. It will not be perfect, definitely will not be perfect. But the fact that you already have done the groundwork, it makes things a lot easier for me, which you will see in your pocket. Because then I'm not going to charge as much as if I were to do all of this groundwork before I can get to work on the books itself. Well, we talked today about tracking expenses and putting systems in place to make things a lot easier for you and the people that you work with. And also so that you can have so much more visibility when it comes to your business. Join us again for another topic, and do send some topics that you'd like us to discuss. I am here to answer your questions happily. So please send feedback and send us questions. You can email me at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. Thank you and have a good day.